Hello and welcome back everyone to the next episode on SAP Fiori Security cum Fiori Advanced Training with me Anubhav. In our last episode we talked about Fiori system setup. We've seen how can we start the Fiori maintenance planner tool to create a stack.xml and then utilizing that in the software update manager tool to install the Fiori components including a new system into the hardware. Then we talked about the basics of S/4HANA, what it means and guideline from SAP that customers who do not adopt Fiori in their S/4HANA system would not be leveraging the full power of S/4 innovations. We talked about different roles, different user personas, developer personas which exist around you in your company and what these peoples are doing differently. So now we getting more delve into this Fiori security consultant or Fiori administrator and do learn all the concepts of Fiori administrator step by step. And then in phase 2 we'll talk about this key user and then finally some advanced development topics. So let's get started our first topic which is relevant for any Fiori developer plus a Fiori security consultant, SAP Fiori Launchpad. As I've already mentioned multiple times, SAP Fiori Launchpad is the single access point for all the Fiori applications, but we will delve more into Fiori Launchpad now in detail. So SAP Fiori Launchpad is a single entry point for all the Fiori applications, Fiori or non-Fiori, whether it is standard or built by custom, delivered by SAP or built by us. That is what it is. So this should be and will be the single entry point for all users. It offers real-time, context-enabled, role-based, personalized aggregation point to business users. Point of functionality to business users. So your business users who are actually the users of S4HANA applications, they will access all the applications to Fiori Launchpad. How do you start the Launchpad? So to start the Launchpad, you can do it through the URL. So in the SAP, the URL will also differ if you're working on old versions or you're working on new versions of SAP system. If you're working on SAP NetWeaver 7.4, it could be ECC, Business Suite or S4, which is lower version. The URL will be HTTP or HTTPS. Then your host name in your company, port number, whatever is the port number, SAP slash UI5 underscore UI5 slash UI2 slash ushell slash shells slash abap slash Fiori Launchpad .html hashtag shell home. This will be the URL of Fiori Launchpad in old versions, old SAP systems. If you are working with latest SAP NetWeaver 7.5 onwards, which is basically S4HANA systems, in that case, the URL is little different. It is going to be, of course, the hostname port number is common, SAP BC slash UI2 slash FLP Fiori Launchpad FioriLaunchpad.html. Did you notice that the eventually it is a launchpad.html? It's a HTML page. So Fiori Launchpad is a HTML page eventually. Now these URLs are different, so be careful if which version of SAP system you are working. So let me tell you how you can check it. It's very simple. Go to System Status and then you can go to Details and you can find SAP Basis version 755. So it's above 750, which means I will be using this URL. Where do you get the host name and port number? So that you can get from transaction code SMICM. And in this T code, if you go to this option called services, you will find here the host name. This is the host name. And this is the port number. For HTTP, it's 8021. For HTTPS, it's 44321. So that is how you can put the port number and host name using T code. So host details can be found in SMICM T code properties icon. So that's how you can check. However, there is an easy way. SAP provides a T code, direct T code to launch Fiori Launchpad. The T code is /n/UI2/FLP. If you run this T code, it is going to launch Fiori Launchpad in your company system. So if I switch over back and type here /n, let me also show you. Usually what I do is I create a new folder here in my SAP system, and I'll say Anubhav's important T code, and then I will store all of those important T codes which I like inside a folder. So I can right click and insert this transaction, and I don't have to put /n here in this case, /UI2/FLP Fiori Launchpad. So you can see at the end in my training, I will have so many T codes here which are important. Let me also add the SMICM. So these two T codes what we discussed, I'll keep adding them in this folder. So eventually at the end, you all will know all the T codes collected together, which are most important for this training. So if you launch this, double click, it will launch the Fiori Launchpad in the Internet Explorer right now. I will just copy this and put it in perhaps in Chrome browser. That's more important for me. So if I go back and put it in the Chrome browser here, you will see now. Okay, one second. I didn't copy it properly. So let me copy it. Copy, switch over back, and I come here and I see it starts my Launchpad. Now here you need to give your username password. So what username password will you give? Will you give your HDFC Bank details here? Anyone? Will you give ICICI Bank details? Will you give your locker password? What will you give here? Which username password will you give? HDFC Bank detail, is it? If you will give your ABAP user, yes. Whatever you use here on the logon screen, that username password you will give. This is also many people don't understand. They start giving Windows password here. Yeah, it's not going to take Windows password. It is your ABAP system password. That is what it will take. So I will just say Mo5 for my case, welcome, and whatever is the password, I will just pass that, and then you'll see Fiori Launchpad opens. This is how it opens. Yes. Some of the important sections of the Launchpad, let's quickly discuss one by one. So Launchpad is actually a shell. Okay. What is a shell? So many of you have seen, different natural herbs, or you might have seen pearl. A pearl comes inside a shell, right? So if I'll just show you a pearl picture, pearl from ocean in shell. So you will see there is a shell around the pearl. Usually there is a shell and the pearl is inside the shell. So a launchpad is a shell. Okay. And inside the shell, you will have the pearl. Pearl is nothing but your app. Sometimes inside a shell, you can have multiple pearls, correct? Sometimes you may find a lot of pearls inside one shell. So similarly, if you see, Launchpad is a shell. That's why you see in the transaction, in the name of the service which you see, usually it comes a shell. You see shell, correct? So it's a shell which contains pearl. Pearl, I mean, is tile. So that is what actually Launchpad is. So first thing is Launchpad is a, let me write down in the next slide. So more on Launchpad. And first thing you need to remember and understand that Launchpad is a shell. Shell of all the apps, whether it could be custom apps or a standard app. Okay. Now all the Fiori apps, this is a single entry point. The beauty of Launchpad is it provides authentication or a logon page for all the users. So first thing is, many time you worry about your app security. You don't want people to access your app without username password, right? So Launchpad provides a central login page. You saw just now when I logged in, it provides a central login to authenticate the user, and based on that only it will show the things. Next part is Launchpad consists of a shell header. You see shell header where you have logo. This logo you can replace with your company logo. We will learn this later. Then you have a navigation bar here. So if I navigate to maybe any application, maybe let me open a application, you will see that it will take you to a page. And then let's say if I say US, okay, so there's some application, I don't care, but you can see here we have a navigation. So I can switch over to all apps or home page, and you see it takes me back. So the first thing is navigation. Then comes is a universal search. We call it as enterprise search. Enterprise search, let's say if I just enter a number 3000045, I don't know what is it, but it will search and look up my entire system to find this. If there is any sales order with this number or purchase order with this number, all that it is going to look upon. Yeah. So if I just enter 1001, it's an enterprise search. It's gonna look at all your systems, all your business objects, and find anywhere if it finds 1001. So that is the enterprise search component. First of all, what you see on the top here. You can also see what you want to search. You want to search an app, a context, a application utility, a bank account number, billing document, a purchase order, a sales order, a lot of stuff. So that's a big ERP system. You can search for a person, people, sales order, supplier, vehicles, warehouse, WBS element. You can give a specific search or a universal search. This we call enterprise search in SAP S4HANA. Then the next component is called notification. You see the bell icon. The notification is the bell icon, and here you can see all the different notification which you may receive. So it's very collaborative in nature. So notification will tell you by date, by type, and by priority. So let's say if there is a radioactive material which has got a leakage, so you can get a notification here. Then comes is the third and very important area. It's called user area or user icon. If you click, it will show you 5 to 6 different options. So first is recent activity, where it will show you your most recently accessed application. What did you search most recent? What did you work with most recent? So I searched 1001. Yes. Before that, I went to this app. Before that, I went to this app 3 days ago. So it is your usage history. Just like you have your browser history, this is your usage history and the most frequently used applications in the system. So that way you can have an easy and quick navigation to the most recently chosen application. So that's recent activity. Then frequently used is the same thing. It will show you the list of apps which you used most frequently. Then app finder, very powerful and important tool. Many times your business user complain you that an app for which he or she has authorizations already not able to find it on the home page. So in that case, you can ask them to search that in the app finder. App finder will show you the list of all the catalogs which are granted to the user through the role, and they can find any application inside this if they are not visible to their home page on the main Launchpad page. So I'll tell you the reason for that also later, why they are not visible on the main page, but then they can pin and unpin these apps on the home page, and then this app will be visible on the home page. So you see manage reconciliation key is just an app which was not there earlier. If I go back to the home, now I will see manage reconciliation app is available here on the home page. The tile, yes, each tile here is one application. Okay, each tile is one application. So that is the app finder. Then comes his setting. So say in setting, we have abundance of settings, like you can choose the theme. Yes, so you can choose any of the theme you like. So this is a personalization setting, which means this will not affect others. It will only and only pertaining to you yourself. So Launchpad gives you a personalization experience. Personalized means only you will be affected by the change. So suppose if I change my theme, it won't affect my manager or somebody else. Like in your Gmail, you can add a classical theme or a Christmas theme. It won't affect your friend's Gmail account. So that's a very personalized experience. If you're adding an app on the home page, it will only and only be visible to you in your home page. Other users will not get affected by that. Launchpad offers enterprise search and notification bar. You just saw notifications were coming. Yes. Then it has also a simple view to all the apps in form of tiles. Imagine if I have 500 apps in my company. Yes, standard, custom, there are about 500 apps. Now each app has one URL. Every app has its own URL, correct? So this way, if you see, you will have so many apps and so many URLs. It is very hard for your business user to remember all the URLs. So that's why what we do, we build a launchpad, and on the launchpad we will just place our apps as a tile. Like in your mobile phone you get these small apps, small icons. It's very similar to that. Each tile will represent one application. So that's what how a launchpad looks like. So then simple to for all the views. Next comes is security is controlled over by launchpad, which means user will only see the apps which user is authorized to see. You cannot just blindly go and see all the apps in the system. Suppose you are a clerk working on a bank. You will only see a create leave request. You can't approve the leave request until unless you are a manager. So that's another beauty. In the past, what used to happen in SAP GUI, we used to type a T code here. Let's say SU01, and I'm allowed to do that. If I press enter, you see, then I get to know, oh my God, it's logged, or I don't have permission, right? And that's really bad experience. You are allowed to do something and later on you are knowing that you're not allowed to take that action. So in the launchpad it won't happen. In here it won't even show you the apps here. If I don't have permission, I will not even see the application here in the launchpad. So I will never know that there is an application of such kind, like approval app. So I am not a manager in this system, so I don't have any approval application like approve leave request. I don't have that. Okay. Approve leave request, approve timesheet. I don't have those applications. Maybe I am just working in sales department of my company. I will only see sales application. I'll not see HR application, or let's say production planning application, or some other planning applications. So that way it is very restrictive. Launchpad will control the overall security of your application. That's why we call this training as Fiori security training, because you are going to learn how to secure and how to give securely the access to your users for your applications. Then Launchpad is responsive. I'm sure everybody knows responsive means. It means it adapts according to device automatically. This was something we learned in the last training also. So if I press F12 and I switch over to mobile view, you can see it adapt itself nicely according to the mobile device. So you don't have to worry that this launchpad will work on mobile or not. It will work beautifully without any problem. It is going to auto adapt in the mobile phone. You see how beautiful it looks. So you will never have a problem in any mode, in landscape mode or in any mode, working with the iPad or iPhone or any kind of devices. It automatically adapts. That's another feature it gives you out of the box. So Launchpad is responsive. It fully supports, integrates and supports classical UIs. Anyone, can you give me example of classical UIs? At least now you should know. I've repeated it several times. What are all the classical UI technologies? Come on. Anyone? Web GUI, very good. Web GUI. What else? WebDin Pro. Very good. And BSP. So that is what the Launchpad fully supports. It fully integrates. So you can integrate a VS01. We will learn that later. You can apply custom branding on Launchpad. Custom branding allows you to do brand. Suppose you, if you go to a particular airline like at Emirates, everything is in the red color. Their planes are in red color, their seats are in red color, their air hostess and crew members, all their dresses are in red color. When they serve you the meal, their plates are in red color. You know, everything, the tickets, boarding passes are in red color. Everything is in red color. So that's a branding they wanted to give. And similarly, when they want to publish the Launchpad to their customers and the applications to their customers, they are very peculiar about their brand. So the brand image is very important. So that is also what Launchpad gives you. We're going to learn this topic called theme designer later on. That's what also we can configure with the Launchpad. It is centralized. Okay, it is the central access point, and this is the only way user should access Fiori apps. We should never allow user to access Fiori apps by any other technique. Now, very similar to the Launchpad, we also have Launchpad in BTP. BTP. Launchpad also allows to configure cross app navigation. One app to another app, you can jump. Okay, it is possible. That is what also Launchpad allows. So these are all the benefits you get when it comes to working with Launchpad. I've already told the transaction code in the last slide. It is /UI2/FLP. That's a T code through the Launchpad. Now, suppose you just started a new system. Okay, what is that you need to start a very first thing in a new brand new system? Yesterday we installed a brand new system. It's a completely new system. It has nothing in it. Nothing is active. Things are not working. Launchpad T code, you launch it, it's not working. How exactly we configure a brand new system? What are all we need to configure? So I would like to take you back a little bit to the previous slide. This is very important slide actually. Yes, exactly. Using some tool we installed it. So if I take you to this slide, guys, I will copy this slide. I would need this again and again. Yes, that's why you need to remember this picture. Very important picture. I will need it almost in every lecture we would need, and you should not forget this. Okay, this is super important, my friends. Okay, never forget this picture. Those who forgot this picture, forget about this training. You will never understand this training if you forget this picture. This picture should be printed in your mind all the time. Midnight also, if somebody wake you up, you should tell. So what happened is we have just finished the installation. What is that we need to do now to configure a connection between front end and back end system? Yes, let's do that. So step by step with new system. So first thing is nothing will work. Launchpad will also not work at the beginning in a new system. You need to first activate services, because see, Launchpad is also a HTML page. We just saw that, right? It's a page. It's an application by itself. So Launchpad is also an application, and that application to run, it needs service, and that service will run on your front end server. And to run a service on front end server, we need to first activate the gateway. One golden rule you all should never ever forget: anything which runs in browser needs a service. We learned this also in the last training carefully, that anytime you build a Fiori app can't talk to CDS view. Fiori app can't talk to report, BAPI, nothing. Fiori only and only talk to service, OData service, so that it can communicate to your system. So please understand, to even enable any OData service, first we need to activate the gateway. So what are all the prerequisites in a new system? So first, getting started with new system, what are all we need? So first step is we would need to activate a new system. Okay, we need to activate a new system. In this we need to activate SAP gateway. Where do you go and activate SAP gateway? For this, the next transaction code is SPRO. Let me add that here. Insert transaction, SPRO. SPRO is a customizing transaction. You go inside and I click on IMG reference. And here we need to go to SAP NetWeaver, SAP Gateway, OData channel, configuration, activate, deactivate SAP Gateway. This is the first thing you guys need to carry out. If it is a central hub system, you will carry out this activity in which system, front end or back end? Anybody? Interview question. Which system you need to go and activate SAP Gateway, front end or back end? Very good answer, Mohit. It is the front end system. Remember, all your services, you see, all our services, they will remain active in the front end only. So you need to act. This is also, that's why it's known as gateway system. So this gateway needs to be activated on the front end system. The first interview question, certification question, we need to activate the gateway into the front end system. It's a one time activity in a fresh brand new system. Okay, we need to activate SAP Gateway. To do that, this is the path you can see already. Activate, deactivate SAP Gateway. I click on execute and you see it's already active. So would you want me to deactivate it? If I deactivate, everybody will face problem in this entire system. I don't want to deactivate. So this is the first and foremost thing you guys need to take care. So you need to activate the gateway system in a brand new installation. So that is step number one. Let me put the screenshot of this so that you all can remember the path. So just give me a second. I would want to also highlight this. So let me give this screenshot. I think this is more helpful for all of you when you guys are doing these stuff. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show. So now we will go ahead and activate, and we just activated the SAP gateway system here, right? So that's what we did. And you can also see here, we need also these things. I'll explain you these things. So first let me put this screenshot here as well. So I'll just put this one here. Okay, so once it is done, we have activated the gateway. Next step, what we need to do is we need to also go ahead and configure RFC connection. Remember RFC? I hope everybody remember RFC. So these two front end and back end system needs to connect to each other, and they will connect to each other through RFC. You see this connection which we learned? Yes, remote function call. So both these systems needs to connect to RFC. Unfortunately, guys, I'm hereby to announce we have opted out of the gold plan, which I discussed in server class. Unfortunately, the server vendor dropped out, so this plan is no more available. Which means in this training we will not be able to work with a central hub system. We will only and only work with the second plan. We will only and only work with embedded system, and eventually in long run you will see embedded system is the only future. Nobody will use central hub because SAP will recommend embedded and companies will go embedded. Okay, whatever as per SAP recommends. So in that case, you do not need this RFC. You need or not need? You still need. I'll tell you the reason. So let's go to the step number 2, create RFC for backend system. Now imagine, just imagine, in my company I have two systems. This is my front end system, S4HANA server front end. Let's imagine, just imagine for a second. And let's say there is also a backend system. Let's say this one is my backend system, or maybe let me just quickly add a backend system. Just give me a moment. I'm renaming my server so that I can just show you S4HANA frontend FES. Yes. And then I will add another. Next, S4HANA BES backend server. Imagine, just imagine. So I have got a front end and I have got a backend. Just imagine there are two systems in your company. So in my front end system, I need to go and create a RFC to backend system. So first I need to right click properties to the backend system, and I need to copy this IP address and this instance number. I copy that, Control C for my backend system. And now I need to go to front end system to create a RFC. So I go to my front end system And just here you see manage RFC destination. I click on execute, and here I am on SM59T code. SM59 is to manage RFCs, and I create a new connection to my backend system. So let me create a new RFC type 3, and I will name it as, let's say, backend S4 BES backend system. I will maintain my S4 HANA backend system. I will put the IP address. I'll put the port number. I will go to login security and I will choose current user. Be very careful here. This is super important. Never hard code any user here. Use current user. Why? Because let's say if you are running a Fiori app, okay? If you are running a Fiori app, the Fiori app which you're running is connecting to the OData service. So this is my user. Let's say username is Paul. Paul is a user working in a company. He access a Fiori app. This Fiori app is calling this OData service. This OData service eventually will contact the implementation in the backend, because implementation is in the backend here. Okay. So what user this communication will happen between these two systems? It has to be with the same Paul's user. Only then this backend system will know that this data needs to return to Paul. And suppose in the backend system, Paul doesn't have authorizations. He doesn't have permission to read that data. The data should give error, and that error we will show to the Fiori app to the user actually. So Paul's user should be used for all the communication. And that is the reason this RFC which you maintain always for connection will never have a user inside. It will have a current user. Current user means the user who is connected to the front end, same user will be used to communicate to the backend. That's why I said the Paul user must exist on backend also and on the front end also. Okay. So if the Paul user is not in the backend, will give error also during connection. So make sure you check this. Maybe you can set the language, hard code the language, no problem in the client, and you can save it. So that's my next step, maintaining a RFC connection in the front end system. So create RFC for backend inside the front end system. The direct T code is SM59 you can use. It should be a type 3 connection. And make sure
Anubhav,
the current user is checked.
Anubhav, Swati here. This scenario you're showing it for central hub, right? In the central hub, we are creating an RFC, not for the embedded one, right?
Yes, for embedded one, now I'll tell you for embedded one, very good. Let me put a star. Star means embedded. Okay, whenever I'm putting star in this training, embedded. So please mute your line. For embedded, you still need an RFC, but why? Because in embedded system, if you remember in our previous class, I told you both of them are a single box. Yeah, they both are in the single front end and back end, both installed in a single server, single machine. So you would still need a self connection. खुद का खुद के साथ ही connection चाहिए ही चाहिए हमको. It is mandatory. Okay, otherwise your system will not work. So you need a self connection. You see, I told you that day also, you still need a self connection. This is what I told you on that day also. You see, no need to create RFC. We will use a RFC. So in SAP system, which are embedded type, there will be already SAP give you free RFC of self. Okay, it's a self connection. So in case of embedded system, a self connection is already there. Hence, you don't need to create RFC. You can open that self connection. The name of that connection is called none. Okay, let me show you the none, how it looks. So if I go back, if I just search here none, this is already there. Every SAP server will have this by default called none. So this destination is an internal connection. खुद का खुद के साथ ही connection. It is mandatory. So this none will be used as a RFC for self connection for embedded system. Okay, now this will be automatically created by SAP. You don't have to create. If you don't find it, create it, no problem. It's of type I, internal connection, खुद का खुद के साथ self connection, what you need. Without this it will not work. Okay, trust me, it will not work. For central hub we will need a RFC like I showed you. For embedded it's going to be a default one called none. That's a SAP delivered one. default connection you can use, but you need an RFC certainly. Okay. Then as a next step, after the RFC is created, you need to maintain system alias. Why do we need system alias if the connection is happening via RFC? Why do we need system alias? Because connection is happening via RFC, Anubhav. Why do you need system alias? Understand carefully. Let's imagine in my company, I have 100 Fiori apps, correct? I have hundreds of Fiori apps in my company. Each Fiori app is using O data service, one O data service. So can anybody tell me if each Fiori app is using one O data service, how many O data service you will have if there are 100 Fiori apps? No one? Is it so difficult question I asked? Is it a so difficult question I asked?
100 services.
You will have 100 services
100 service.
because one per app. एक ऐप का एक सर्विस होगा तो 100 ऐप का कितना होगा? 100 सर्विस होगा. इतना टेंशन लेने का क्या जरूरत है आपको? इतना दिमाग लगाना ही नहीं है हमको. So if there are 100 Fiori apps, there will be 100 OData services, correct? Now, these 100 OData services are activated in the front end system. These both exist in the front end system. So this is our front end system. If we talk about the embedded hub, now there will be a backend system where you will have the code. So in our previous training, we learnt about the MPC DPC class, right? Implementing classes for these services. So who will tell me what will be the total number of pair of MPC and DPC classes we will have? So you will have 100 pairs, means 200 classes you will have. Perfect. So now I have in backend system the corresponding functionality implemented. No problem. So far so good. Now the communication, as you know, between these are happening through the RFC. So we use RFC to communicate between them. Perfect. No problem. Yes, we know this is RFC connection. So when I activate my service, at that time, guys, when you activate your service, that time you have to give which system you are activating this service against. Because in backend, in central hub scenario, you may have a other system also like CRM. Now some DPC, MPC classes may be here. Okay, some DPC, MPC classes may be in this system also. It is possible, right? It is possible because it's a central hub scenario. You can have so many other systems and some DPC, MPC will be here also. So when you activating it, that time you have to tell which system is what you want to connect. So that's why you need a RFC. Okay. Now suppose if I activate 100 services, out of these 100 services, 50 belong to my system backend 1. Let's call it as BE1, backend 1, BE1. Okay. 50 belongs to BE1 and 50 service belongs to BE2. Fair enough? 50 belongs to BE1, 50 belongs to BE2 out of these 100 services. So you did a association, you did a linking. You did a linking of first 50 services to BE1 and next 50 services to BE2 directly to BE1 RFC. इसके RFC से लिंक कर दिया, इसके RFC से लिंक कर दिया. Done. Now in future this CRM system got changed, it got upgraded and they got a upgraded version of CRM system and that caused a change in the system IP address. This is इसका IP address change हो गया. Yes, IP address got changed. How many places you have to go and change now the RFC? So now you've got a new RFC. Let's call it as N RFC. So for the new system, you've got a new RFC. Old system is still there, but they got a new system. New NRFC, I call it as NRFC, new RFC. How many places you have to go and change? 50 places you have to go and change, replacing the old RFC, ORFC, let's call it as ORFC. Yeah, this is your ORFC. This is your ORFC, old RFC. ORFC needs to change now to a new RFC, NRFC. So 50 places you have to go and make the change. Likewise, if this system also changed, this one, BE1, then 50 more. You can't imagine in SAP system how difficult this will be to change every service. You have to go and change RFC again and again. If there is a change in underlying system, it will invite lot of maintenance cost and time consuming activity. Are you all clear this problem statement? Yes or no? Is this problem statement clear to everybody? Yes or no? Yes. Every time something changes, RFC changes, you have to go and change lot of RFCs in these connections. I'll show you in a minute. Once I activate a service, it'll ask me the backend system details. Okay. So SAP found an easy solution. They said, I'm not going to link my services directly with RFC, because if I link directly with RFC, if RFC change, then I have to change everywhere. SAP introduced another concept. They added another concept, another layer in the middle called system alias. What is system alias? System alias is a logical system. This is a system alias. It's just a name of your system. Okay. So we never link our service directly with the RFC. Okay. We never do that. We never link it with RFC. We link it with system alias. Okay. And system alias link it with the RFC actually. ये RFC से connect होता है. So if tomorrow in your company, the actual RFC has changed, you are linking your services, 50 services are linked to system alias, and that alias is linked to one RFC. Okay, that alias is linked to one RFC. If this RFC needs to be changed now to new RFC, where do you make the change? Would you go and make the change in all 50 services? No, you will then make that change in system alias only one place, which is the system alias, because your service now talk to system alias. System alias talk to RFC. All 50 service talking to system alias. This system alias talking to one RFC. So eventually you have one-to-one relationship here between RFC and system alias. But end to one relationship here, end to one relationship between the service and the system alias. This is end to one, this is one to one. So that is the major evolution. That is a major evolution they got to avoid the problem of heavy maintenance. They introduced system alias. So you will never connect your service directly to RFC. You will bind your service to system alias bind it to RFC. And tomorrow if the RFC change, you will not touch system alias, will not touch the connection between service and system alias. You'll just change the RFC at one place inside the system alias versus RFC. So this is what the next step I'll show you. As a prerequisite you need to do. Now in case of embedded system, this RFC will be none. I just showed you the RFC name. It was none. Yes, we will use this none. So let me go and show you creating a system alias now. And that is the next customizing activity. So if we go back again to SPRO, and you see here manage system alias. Okay, I go inside this, and now here I can manage system alias. I can say my backend, and you see RFC destination none. Why am I choosing none? Anybody? Why I'm choosing none? Yes,
Embedded.
because it's an embedded system. Very good answer. Very good. You understood the concept. But if this would have been a front end system, like I try to mock it, like I try to mock it for you, front end, back end. If it is a front end system, truly, what will I do here instead of none?
Give the respective RFC.
Yes, you do F4 and you just link it with the RFC which we just created for the backend system. So we just created a backend RFC. So let me just see what was the name we gave. I forgot. I think it's S for BES. Yes. I just click and I choose that RFC. So now this front end system will connect to my backend system. But if it is an embedded deployment, you will just choose here none. Okay. Now you also check mark this. You say that this is my OData backend. Okay. And now you can just give a description, my system alias for backend, ECC system, or whatever you wanted to give. In your company, if you have 5 backend system, if you're using central hub, if you have 5 backend system, how many system alias you will create? Anyone? If my company has a central hub and 5 different backend system, how many system alias I will create? 5 system alias.
Five.
Perfect answer. Very good answer. Yes, 5 system alias. And how many RFCs I will create? How many RFCs? 5 RFCs. Very good answer. We'll create 5 RFCs, one per system alias. Okay. एक system alias का एक RFC. You can see it here also. I'm maintaining a system alias called backend name, and I have a RFC also attached to it. So this is the binding between this. In case of embedded system, you will just create one system alias binding to the none. None is the destination. That's what you will choose. None means local. Okay. So if I click on OK, my system alias will be added. Okay, one second. Give me an error. Okay, uncheck the local. Yes. And now it's done. You see, I've added a backend system alias over here. Okay. Now, if it is local, like it's an embedded system, you can see someone already maintained this. My basis has already maintained this. If I open this local one and just show you the details, what it has, you will see it is connecting to CFN destination. CFN is nothing but again an internal connection we have created. It's a local gateway, local app. Both are checked, and it's a default version, and this is a local system alias because it's an embedded system. Mine is embedded system. Most of you eventually will become embedded because that's SAP's recommendation at the end of the day. Okay, so this is very important. That's step number 3. In a fresh system, right after installation, you need to maintain system alias. Now, any service we activate, we need to give. Do you need to give RFC while activating a OData service? Anybody? What do you give? Will you give RFC? No, you will give. Very good. You will give system alias name. You will not give RFC, because RFC, if you're giving, you're burning your fingers for heavy maintenance in future if something changes. So any service we activate, we need to give the system alias through which the front end server will know which backend system it needs to talk to. बच्चों बताओ कौन सा ट्रांजैक्शन यूज करते हैं सर्विस एक्टिवेट करने के लिए? Which transaction code do we use? Come on, UI5 developers of my last batch. Which T code do you use to activate service?
Maintain service.
Main service. Very good answer. IWFND. अगर याद नहीं है तो अपना कुछ करवाइए. This is the T code we use to activate services in SAP server. किसी भी प्रकार का service हो, OData service, any OData service, whether it is V2 or V4, V2 service, we will use this T code. For V4 is a separate story. Let me add this very, very important transaction code. Those who've taken my first training, we have heavily worked on it. Those who've taken a Bapanana training, we heavily worked on this T code. Very important. This is the T code we use to activate SAP service. And if you go inside, you see large number of services already activated in this server. Yes, large number of them. Anyone you pick it, your choice. I will not stop you. Your choice. Anyone, कोई पे भी double click कर लो आप. Anyone you click, yeah, double click, you will see the details. It will have the system alias on the right side. Okay, so if I just pick something more productive, it will have a system alias. That system alias will tell, okay, that system alias will tell which system it is connecting to. Okay, you see local, the one which we already maintained it before you came in this system, we maintained it. So if I double click, it will take me to the RFC now for that system alias. Okay, If the central hub, if we have two backend systems, then you may have you may have, you know, sometime let's say CRM, sometime the ECC, sometime SRM, sometime PLM, sometime HCM, depending on this service talking to which backend, you will have a system alias. Can I have multiple? Yes, you can have multiple. In that case, it will be based on role. Based on user role, it will hit the corresponding backend system. I have an amazing video which demonstrate a scenario working with multi-system environment like CRM and ECC. Unfortunately, here I can't show it because it's an embedded system. We have scarcity of system, but I have recorded a video in my company which showcase this use case. Multiple SAP backend from gateway. Watch this video if you want to love, if you want to experience it truly, how to work with multiple backend different sources. Then you can just go and watch my video. I'll show you. Yes, this one. SAP gateway multi-origin functionality, ECC and CRM from OData. Connect to ECC and CRM. This was the video when I was in Dubai, and I learned this concept in Dubai, and that's why I took a picture for Burj Khalifa and I kept it that as a picture of this. So this reminds me my Dubai trip for the ABAP on HANA training. So that's why the Dubai picture. So that's how I recognize my video. Sometimes I forget my videos. So this is a very powerful video. Those who wanted to go deeper and see how multi-origin works, please go through this video. Very powerful video. 9,000 views already on that video. I got a lot of comments on LinkedIn profile regarding this video from many people. So if you wanted to really experience, unfortunately I don't have right now the multiple systems, but if you wanted to just experience this, going ahead and seeing how it works, basically we will you can just go and check that video. Additional learning for developers, those who wanted to experience multi-origin policy or multi-origin connection. Okay, check this very amazing video. Based on role, it will split the traffic based on the user's role. It will check the user role. According to that, it is going to hit different systems. So maintain multiple aliases over here, and it will pick the alias based on the user role. Watch that a practical video. Now, what happens when a service get activated? Behind the scene, whenever a service get activated, basically a ICF node gets created. Okay, ICF stands for Internet Communication Framework. It's a component inside SAP system which manage all the HTTP communication coming from outside SAP server. So a ICF node gets created whenever you activate a service. You can also check that ICF node in a T code called SICF. So basically, when you, how do you activate a service? You click on add service, you give a service name. So service system alias, which system alias you wanted to run it against, and then you will give your service name. So let me give any SRV. Just search any random service. You select any random service in your company, and then you will activate that service. A ICF node will get created. So you select and you click on add selected service, and then you will choose a package, and then you say okay. I'll show you that activation in next class more in detail, but eventually if you see, this is very important. Which is system alias against which you want to activate service, which means what is your backend. You have to tell for which OData service what is your backend. Remember this picture, very important. OData services are registered and activated on the front end, but eventually the code exists in the backend. So you have to tell what is the system alias you want to use for the corresponding backend code. So that is very important. Yes, so basically let me write also the another thing. When a service gets activated, an ICF node gets created, and we can check the same in T code SICF. Okay, let me show that. I'll go to ICF, and here pick up any service. Let me pick up any random service. Maybe I search. Okay, let me go back and pick it from there itself. So I'll pick up a very famous demo service SAP provide for learning purpose. It's called SEPM search that. Yeah, SEPM Prodman. This service I will also be using for our Fiori element classes. Yeah, it's a demo service provided by SAP, and you can see the service name is ZSEPM RA Prodman. Okay, so I will copy that ZSEPM. I can do star and I can execute. Okay, special paths are not allowed to give full name. EPMRA Prodman. MRA Prodman. I execute this and voila. Oops, I'm not able to find. Just give me a sec. I forgot. I think I've given it wrong place. I have to give the reference service name. This is the correct place. No. I think it should find ZEP ZSEPM, guys. It's ZSEPMRA Prodman. I'm not sure why it's not finding it. You can just also jump here directly to go to SICF. So you can directly also use this option. Click on this. It will directly jump to SICF. If you're not able to find from here, you can jump. This is just a background information I'm telling. Maybe you'll never use it, but just wanted to tell you that, you can see here. Okay, Z is not there. It will be registering with original service name. So you can find this SAP OPU OData SAP in the path. That's why when you run any OData service in SAP server, they all have this path SAP OPU OData SAP, the service name. So this is how our service is activated. So you can always already see it's active. That's why this option is disabled. I can deactivate anytime, but I should not do so. In the troubleshooting chapter, I'll tell you sometimes these services gets deactivated due to some issue, due to activation issue. We have to go and sometime manually activate these nodes to troubleshoot, to fix certain issues. As a basis consultant administrator, we may have to do it. So what we learned today, we started our system practice today for the first time. We went ahead and we talked about what is Fiori Launchpad, the basics, the different sections of SAP Fiori Launchpad which it provides. Then we started what is that Launchpad got to offer, and then we saw step by step in a new system, how do you make your system ready. If it is a front-end system, or if it is a central hub or a embedded system, you have to create RFC, you have to create activate gateway, and you have to maintain system alias. All the services which you activate will be against a system alias. System alias abstracts you from RFC. So in future, there is a change in RFC, you don't have to change all your services. The services binds to system alias, and system alias connects to the RFC. So if there are 5 backend system, you'll get 5 system aliases and 5 RFCs, for one for each system. And if you wanted to learn how technically multi-origin policy works, you can watch this video, which shows a CRM and ECC system as a backend in the central hub scenario. So that's all for the day. See you in the next class. Time for your questions quickly, if you have any questions.
Yeah, Anubhav, what is the reason SAP changed the Launchpad URL?
Because in the past, what happened is this particular Launchpad had a lot of cache issue. Cache issue means, let's say I made a change in the content, and then if I refresh, it will not refresh that tile. Many times you add a new tile, you configure a new tile, the tile is not visible to the user. You have to go and send the cache buster tokens manually. The performance was also not so good for the Launchpad. So that's why they introduced a new Launchpad URL, which is a new service for the Launchpad. And through this, when you run, you will not have a cache issue. Cache issue means if there is a change in the content you've done, it will immediately be reflecting on the UI. So that is why they have got this from 7.5. Time to time, SAP keeps improving the user experience, and that's why they've done.
But ideally, we are migrated from native 7.4 to 7.5, but we are still using the old URL. So
Then you can go and
like,
tell them use new URL. I think ideally you should never use URL. I mean, this I just told you for information behind the scene. You should always access Launchpad with the transaction code. Even you should teach your users to access it from the transaction code. Never do it,
yeah,
because
we are
there's no guarantee
even yeah,
that they will
yeah,
use
that's correct.
URL
But
on that URL. You have to teach them to use this. If you run this T code, you will see eventually it will open the new URL only.
No, not exactly, because even after upgrade and we checked, when you are doing this demo, so I checked with that transaction code also. So it is eventually invoking the old URL only.
Then you have to just go and maybe just check some note why it is happening. Maybe you have to activate this particular service. This FLP service is not even active, I think, in your system. They didn't do it properly. So if you go to SICF, there is this FLP service. Yeah, you have to put the service name FLP. Yes, and you need to
Okay.
activate that service.
Okay.
Activate that service.
Okay. The second question I'm having is with respect to the enterprise search. So the enterprise search, you have shown a drop down, right? There are multiple business objects on the drop down.
Mhm.
So is there a way to limit the drop down based on the user rule?
It will automatically limit based on user. So my user has permission for so many applications like finance, SD, banking. So that's why it's showing me so many options. Depending on the security which we configure in coming class, this drop down will naturally be limited according to the role of the user.
Okay, so no other extra effort we have to do
No other
for
extra effort. Yes.
that drop down. It will be.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we
The
increase
third
the
one I'm
size
having
of the,
with respect.
there's a question from Mohit, can we increase the size of the heading? Yes, using theme designer and custom CSS, you can do it. I will show you the theme designer. Please wait for the right time. That time I'll show you, and you can also increase the size of the strip. This is strip. You can change the color of the strip also, depending on the name. So
Anubhav, I have one question. In the starting, you were showing the login, right? We have to log into the backend system. In case of Central Hub, we'll use the credentials of the gateway system, right?
yes, yes.
Log
You
into the
always
Launchpad.
use front-end system credentials, ABAP system
Okay.
credentials for front-end.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anubhav, I have a
So
question.
Anubhav, I'm having one question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more
I'm
from
having a
the
question with respect to SM55, SM59. We are having a connection over there called an HTTP connection to an ABAP backend.
Mhm.
So can that connection can be also exploited for setting up a system alias or a connection like to the front end server,
Yes,
or
you can
only the
have
type
HTTP
3 has to be?
communications also between two SAP systems. It is possible. If you expose from one SAP
Mm-hmm.
system a HTTP connection, you can call from another HTTP from another SAP server. For that, you need to write ABAP code to use HTTP handler classes in ABAP to make a call to that HTTP server. So ABAP HTTP uh, reference classes. You need ABAP programming to do so. Using that, you can call any HTTP calls of another system. So you can use this particular class to do so.
Okay. And on the system alias, there is a section called software version. Sometimes we see when we maintain the system alias, there is some path we have to maintain on the software version.
There
What is
is
the
one thing
significance of
option
that
called
one?
default, and there is one thing called BWF. Yeah, I will explain you that.
Yeah, yeah.
To wait for the right time. It will be too confusing if I talk about it today. So I understood your question, guys.
Okay.
Let me also just show this to everybody. What is his question? At least let's understand the question today. Maybe the answer we will look at it later. So if we go back here to defined many system ls, then you would see here there is an option while I was creating called software version, this one. So sometime it's default, and you see for some time it is like, you see, IWPGW, something like, yeah, this one. I'll explain you this little later. Please allow me some time. We will come back to this later.
And when exactly we have to check and uncheck that local gateway and for local app, in which scenario we have to check and uncheck that checkbox?
For embedded RFCs, embedded system, all local connections, it will be checked. For any system where you
Okay.
have a system which is a backend system, then you will check this option.
Okay. And for local app,
Sorry. Local
the
app,
middle one,
local
yeah.
app usually goes hand to hand with the local GW. Both are local.
Okay, but yeah, but it is there is that for one system alias we are not having the local app
That is
ticked.
a FIori menu. So for menu, it is not required to be local app.
Okay. And is there a issue if we activate multiple OData services? Like
No issue.
we just go to the topmost node and just try to activate the complete SICF node and all the OData services under that SICF get activated. Will it create any performance issue or we shouldn't do that?
It's your choice. You wanted to overload system of things which you not even want to use. It's your choice. You can go ahead.
So it will impact the performance ideally.
Yeah, I mean, if you are using so much of computing power and resources, in spite of even you don't need them, obviously it will impact somewhere for sure.
Okay. And one last question I'm having is with respect to the multiple system alias. Like if you are having a multiple backend systems, and let's say that over here the example I will take for the my inbox. So my inbox we should have the multiple workflow approvals from multiple let's say it is from the S/4HANA, from CRM, from Salesforce. So we can map the multiple system alias, but how the application will come to know like from which system it has to consider or which request has to go to which system.
Please watch this particular video.
Okay. Yeah, I will go through that one, and if I have any questions, I will get back to you. Yeah, that's all from my end.
Are these settings
Yeah, I know.
transportable? Yes, definitely. So whenever you guys are maintaining any system alias, you must have to transport these settings basically. Very good question. So if you go to SPRO again, you must transport these settings because perhaps you wanted to make them available for the next system as well. At least the OData service registration, I would say we must transport. But configuration, I think we can't. Let me just check if it is also transportable. We can't transport RFC, I think, because it will not help and it's also practically not needed. Yeah, so these settings we can't, but activation of a OData service, which I'll show you in the next class. Yes, IPs will change, right? So in case of production and quality, it doesn't make sense to transport these settings. This needs to be done one time effort after system installation by you in quality and production manually, but this can't be transported. But service registration, definitely yes, you need to transport. Okay, that is the right path of going ahead. We'll learn about more Q2P or D2Q, all that processes in coming days. This is just the starting point, how you configure your system at the first day, and then slowly we will get into the content part, and then we'll understand how the content will flow from D2Q to P eventually. All right. With that, it's a wrap on today's session. See you tomorrow at the same time.